Hi there, folks. Charlie Gipple here, the owner of CG Financial Group with my trusty whiteboard. CG Financial Group is your independent marketing organization for annuities, life, and long-term care. By the way, folks, I need to constantly remind myself to remind you to give me a thumbs up and also subscribe, at least if you have a thumb and a subscribe button on the platform you're watching this on. I need to constantly remind myself because you know what? If you don't subscribe and don't give me a thumbs up, then it just makes it hard to continue to do these videos, at least that's available to the general financial professional public. So please do that. What we want to talk about today is structured annuities, the shining star within the variable annuity space, at least as of probably the last decade or so. Man, time flies. Structured annuities, which share traits with fixed index annuities, have been, again, the shining star of the variable annuity space. Now, what is a structured annuity? Real briefly here, what a structured annuity is it looks something like this. There are a couple different types. There are buffer types and there are floor types. I'm just going to talk about the floor today because what I want to get to is really the pricing. How is this possible? Is it too good to be true? And my story today is going to apply whether it's a buffered annuity or a floor annuity. So here is the way a structured annuity with, say, a 10% floor. This is how it looks. So let's say over a year's period of time, the market drops 20%. That's my 1 year hash mark there. The market drops 20%, so negative 20. A structured product with a, say, negative 10% floor might look something like this. You lose 10% of your money, but this additional 10% you don't participate in, meaning you only lose 10% when the market went down 20%. Not bad, right? Now, some of you may be saying, well, Charlie, why would we choose this over an indexed annuity that has a 0% floor? If the market drops 100%, doesn't matter. The indexed annuity isn't going to lose anything. Well, because as you can probably imagine, there is an upside positive trade-off with structured annuities. For instance, if the market goes up 20% the next year, so positive 20, that structured annuity may have a cap of, say, 15%, which means the client gets everything the market goes up to 15%, nothing beyond that. And that is a positive trade-off relative to many fixed index annuities today, right? Because our top selling indexed annuity today actually has an 11.5% cap, which is a very, very good cap. Zero downside potential, 11.5% upside potential, at least if the market, which is the S&P 500 I'm using in this example, if it goes up to 11.5%. So let's scratch that out. That is the trade-off with structured annuities. You can lose, which is what makes it a variable annuity, but at the same time, you have upside potential. You have caps that are generally higher than that of index annuities. I say generally because I don't like making blanket statements, because then somebody on LinkedIn will come and say, well, technically, Charlie, I know of this one indexed annuity that has a 20% cap and this one structured annuity that has a 19.5% cap. So Charlie, you are incorrect. That's why I don't make generalities, because there's always somebody out there that wants to prove somebody wrong, which discourages education, but I digress there. Okay, so how is this done? Let's talk about indexed annuity pricing first. So the way that indexed annuities are done, and this will be a perfect segue into the difference between indexed annuities and structured products. The way that indexed annuities are done is they are general account assets, right? And by the way, folks, what I'm going to get at by the end is this. The questions come up to me every week from financial professionals, securities and non-securities financial professionals alike. And it is this. Charlie, I saw this product. It looks like this, 15% upside, which is a massive cap. The downside, yes, is 10%. But how is this possible? There has to be some external charges, or some explicit charges, I should say, on these structured annuities that I'm hearing about, that somebody just told me about. It seems too good to be true. There has to be additional charges. That's usually when I say it's not too good to be true. There are not additional charges. And then at which point the agent, he or she says, how is this possible? At which point I say, well, buckle up, because we're going to talk a little bit about call options and put options. Put options, that's a new conversation we typically don't have with indexed annuities. So that's what we're going to get at here. So 5%, let's say, is our indexed annuity options budget. So the carrier gets $100,000 from a client. They invest that $100,000 into their general account. And let's say that that general account has a yield, or the bonds that they just bought with that $100,000 has a yield of 5% or $5,000 per year. That is our call option budget there. So what happens? What happens is the insurance company says, okay, we need to go out and buy call options. We need to buy and sell call options. Let's talk about call options here. This is indexed annuities still, and then we're going to transition over to structured annuities, and it will all make sense at the end. So the carrier goes out and says, okay, so the S&P 500 today, let's just round down to make it simple, is at 1,000. We want to buy an at-the-money call option. Now, what does that mean? It means that if this is an annual reset structure, we will buy a one-year call option, and whatever the market does to the upside, let's say 50% up to exaggerate, that call option that we just bought is going to give us 50% to the upside. That's what it's going to give us. Now, I know many of you are thinking, well, what about this cap thing? What do you mean 50% to the upside? I'm getting there. But let's say this at-the-money call option costs the carrier, say, 8% or $8,000. We have a problem there because the carrier they only priced in about $5,000 per year. We are 3% over what our call option budget is. So then what do carriers do? What carriers will do is they will sell a call option. So the further out of the money you go, the cheaper call options get, right? Let's say you sell a 50% out of the money call option, or you buy one for that matter. That would be dirt cheap, because what that means is if you bought a 50% out of the money call option, what that means is only once the stock market goes up 51%, do you start getting any kind of growth on your money. Technically, it would be more than 51% because you have the cost and the call option in there, but I digress there. So the higher that you go here out of the money, the cheaper that call options get. But we want to go as high as we can. So there's that point there that we want to hit. We want to hit that 3% mark. Why 3%? 3% is the cost that we need to sell an option at, so it nets out to 5%. So we want to go as high on this chart as we can. We want to go high because that's what determines the cap, but we want to hit that 3% or that $3,000 call option premium. Now, today, that may be 11.5%. So what we have just done is we have bought a call option at the money, and we also sold a call option out of the money to the tune of 11.5%. That 3% that we got in income, you net that against the 8%, and we have hit our call option budget of 5%. Thus, we have just created a product with an 11.5% cap. Now let's talk about put options. What if we bought a put option? Then we're going to come back and we're going to sell a put option. What if we bought a put option at the money? What a put option does is when the market goes down, that gives somebody, if the carrier bought a put option, and there are strategies that do this, if the market goes down, that gives that carrier and thus the client, whatever the market went down, a positive growth, if that makes sense. And like with call options, the further out of the money you go, the cheaper it gets, right? You know, if you sold a negative 50% put option, or a put option that was 50% out of the money, it's going to be dirt cheap because the market would have to go down 51%, as I talked about, until anybody starts getting any growth. So the more expensive put option is the at the money put option, right? By the way, what we've done with the call option here is we participated in everything the market went up to 11.5%. And then when we sold that call option out of the money, 11.5%, when we sold it at a strike price that is 11.5% out of the money, that gave anything above and beyond 11.5% to somebody else. That's how indexed annuities are created. Well, when you come over here, what would happen if we sold a put option at the money? We sold a put option at the money, and let's say that we got 8%, right? Because we sold that put option at the money. Well, by selling that put option, what we are doing is we are signing ourselves up to basically have to pay for everything that the market goes down to the person that bought that put option. So that's what we want to do here, because we want 8% in income coming in. Why do we want that? I'll explain here in a bit. But we don't want all of the downside. What we want to do is we want to shift anything from, say, 10% on up of a loss to somebody else. So what we will do here is we will then buy a put option. We will buy a put option, which gives us protection beyond this point. And maybe that point is 10% out of the money. I know we're getting a little detailed here, but what did that put option that we just sold, what did that give us? Or what did that cost us, rather, because we're buying it? Well, to buy that protection, that is 10% out of the money, what that might give us is, say, 3%. So let's see, we sold something for 8%, we bought something for 3%. That means that we have a net of, say, 5%, right? We have a net of 5%. What are we able to do with this? Very hypothetical, I'm just making up these numbers. What are we able to do with this 5%? We are able to add that to our option budget, which previously on an indexed annuity was only 5%. Well, now we are able to add that extra option budget because we just did a put spread, is what the name of this option strategy is. A bear put spread. We got 5% in income from that to add to our option budget. We now have a 10% option budget, which is going to give us more upside, i.e. a higher cap, than what we would have with an indexed annuity. And by the way, folks, we did not charge 1 penny of additional fees. This has been some heavy stuff. I hope it makes sense, at least to the degree that you understand that no additional expenses, no external charges, as well as it's not too good to be true. Again, remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this type of stuff, and I'll talk with you next time.